Have you ever wondered why some films seem to pop up in the same state or city time and time again? Or why certain countries are suddenly home to booming video game industries? The answer often lies in something that may sound mundane at first: tax incentives and rebates. Yet these incentives, far from being a dry accounting mechanism, can spur incredible creativity and enrich entire cultural landscapes. They can fund cutting-edge video games, revitalize local music scenes, transform small theaters, support artists who beautify public spaces, and so much more. Their power goes beyond mere economics. They can shape the identity and vibrancy of entire regions, turning them into cultural meccas almost overnight. But what do these terms, tax incentive, rebate, transferable credit, exemption, really mean for the average person who cares about art, culture, and community life? And more importantly, how can we adapt the most successful models in the film and gaming worlds to support an ever-expanding universe of cultural endeavors? Let us begin by exploring the essence of these incentives, unraveling the complexities, and examining why governments worldwide continue to embrace them with open arms. 1. The essence of tax incentives in culture. Picture this: a young filmmaker with an unconventional story to tell. Her concept is brilliant, mixing local folklore with futuristic technology, but her budget is shoestring at best. She hopes to shoot in her hometown to capture the region's natural beauty and incorporate real-life local traditions. Then, she learns that her city offers a 30% tax credit for any film crew shooting at least part of their production there, provided they hire a certain number of local residents. Suddenly, her film moves from daydream to possible reality. That's the spark of tax incentives. They can be structured in many ways: credits, rebates, or even waivers of specific taxes. But the goal is always the same: to encourage cultural activities by lowering costs. When the project in question is a film, these incentives might cut the final tax bill by 20, 30%, or even more. When the project is a festival, a music album, a video game, or a community art exhibit, tax incentives can similarly slash expenses and free up funds that creators can funnel right back into their craft. The bottom line is simple, yet powerful. If you can reduce the financial burden, you unleash the potential of creative minds. 2. Lessons from the film industry. Why focus on film first? Because the film industry often serves as the flagship for how these incentives function in practice. Over the past few decades, states like Georgia and Louisiana in the United States have honed their film tax incentive programs so effectively that entire franchises, think major superhero or dystopian sagas, are now filmed there. Georgia, for instance, boasts up to a 30% tax credit on qualified expenditures. It's no coincidence that big-budget productions like Black Panther chose Georgia for principal photography. That kind of savings can drastically widen a production's creative possibilities. Bigger sets, more special effects, or perhaps an additional location that heightens the film's overall scope. The local economy, meanwhile, often reaps the rewards. It isn't just the film producers who benefit. The hotels, restaurants, carpenters, equipment suppliers, and even local drivers all see economic gains. In many cases, entire satellite industries blossom: film commissions, specialized accountants, location scouts, creating a robust infrastructure that can support future productions. Over time, a once sleepy town can transform into a major film hub. We see a similar pattern in places like New Mexico, which kicked off with a 25% refund and then scaled upward for certain productions. Shows like Breaking Bad helped shape the public's awareness that New Mexico is more than desert landscapes. It's an innovative film center. Today, the local community benefits from film tourism, job creation, and skill development. The result is a cultural and economic synergy that helps define New Mexico in global entertainment circles. Of course, we can't ignore places outside the U.S. Hungary, for example, offers a 30% credit extended until 2030, making it a long-term partner for foreign studios looking for historical architecture and skilled crews. The United Kingdom, similarly, has ramped up its incentives, occasionally hitting 40% for high-end television or specialized projects. If you've seen major blockbusters filmed in the UK, you've likely witnessed these incentives in action, through elaborate sets, advanced studios, and world-class post-production facilities. 3. Transferring lessons to the video game industry. If movies can thrive on incentives, Why not video games? Many governments already treat games as cultural products akin to films. Video games, after all, often involve music composers, voice actors, scriptwriters, illustrators, 3D modelers, and many other creative specialists. They can have stories that rival the complexity of a feature film, bringing local culture, mythology, and language to a global audience. Canada is a shining example. Provinces like Quebec have led the charge, offering incentives that can cover a significant slice of labor costs, somewhere in the ballpark of 30% to 37.5%. By attracting major game studios, Canada hasn't just fueled business growth, it has also allowed local talent to flourish and left behind a tech-savvy ecosystem. It's no accident that some of the biggest game franchises on the planet are developed or co-developed in Montreal. Even smaller studios benefit. Independent developers often face tight budgets, so imagine the difference a robust tax credit can make. Perhaps they can hire an additional character designer to bring unique, local folklore creatures to life in the game. Or they can invest in advanced motion capture for more believable character animations. The result is a higher quality product that better reflects the creative vision and perhaps introduces new audiences to that developer's distinctive cultural identity. In places like Poland, where gaming success stories, such as the makers of the Witcher series, are increasingly common, there's an ongoing conversation about establishing a formal, large-scale tax relief for producers of cultural video games. The idea is to see games as not just software, but as creative artifacts that preserve and reinvent national or local narratives, thereby deserving of the same financial support that a film or a theater production might get. 4. Expanding the concept to other cultural fields. Now let's ask a more radical question. Should tax incentives remain confined to film and game industries alone? What happens if we aim to apply the same concept to the world of music production, theater, or even public art? Music production. Could a local government offer tax exemptions on music equipment, studio rentals, or marketing expenses for new albums? If an up-and-coming singer-songwriter could receive a 20% rebate on their local production costs, that might allow them to collaborate with more session musicians, refine their recordings with a seasoned sound engineer, or invest in a small promotional tour. Similarly, big music studios might find it easier to bankroll diverse artists, fostering a vibrant music scene that draws tourists and fans alike. Theater and live performances. Theater companies frequently operate on tight margins. Creating a production involves costs for costuming, lighting, scenic design, venue rental, and more. If local authorities provide direct tax rebates or credits for those who hire local talent, we might witness a surge of experimental plays, musicals, and immersive theater experiences. Smaller, avant-garde collectives, which often struggle financially, could flourish under such a system. Audiences, in turn, gain fresh local productions and more inclusive cultural offerings. Art in public spaces. Ever walked through a city district where colorful murals stretch along entire buildings, or stumbled upon large-scale sculptural installations in an urban park? These creative touches infuse daily life with wonder, but they also cost money. Artists need materials, scaffolding, permits, and sometimes specialized equipment. If local governments offered property tax reductions for business owners who dedicate their walls to public murals, or if they provided direct grants or tax rebates to the artists themselves, entire neighborhoods could transform into dynamic cultural corridors. Community cultural organizations. Nonprofits and community-based organizations often rely heavily on grants and donations. But what if a portion of their operational expenses could be offset by a tax credit program? In countries like the United States, donors can already deduct contributions to nonprofit cultural institutions from their taxable income. That approach has had a profound impact on museums, performing arts centers, community orchestras, and many other nonprofits. Enacting more direct incentives, like a partial rebate for local spending, could help these groups hire more teachers, expand youth outreach, or maintain their facilities to a higher standard. 5. The mechanics. How do you get these incentives? In any field, no matter how creative, finances demand a bit of fine print. Tax incentives don't land automatically in an artist's lap. They require planning, documentation, and compliance. Eligibility criteria. A city or country might say, we'll offer a 25% rebate, but only if at least half of your production staff is local. Or, you must spend a minimum of $1 million in eligible expenses. These rules filter out smaller projects, or conversely, they might specifically favor smaller local initiatives to nurture grassroots talent. Documentation. Keeping meticulous records is vital. Every receipt, contract, and invoice might need to be submitted for review. This isn't just paperwork for paperwork's sake. Regulators want proof that public funds are effectively spurring local economic activity, and they want to prevent abuse or fraud. Audits and compliance. Many jurisdictions require an audit that details how and where funds were spent. If your production can't pass an audit, you risk losing the incentive entirely. This can seem daunting, but with good accounting and perhaps the help of specialized consultants, it's manageable. Timelines. Some incentives are paid out up front, providing immediate relief. Others are only reimbursed after the project wraps up, meaning the artist or producer needs interim funding to get the job done. That detail alone can shape how a project's cash flow is planned. 6. Pitfalls, criticisms, and potential controversies. As beneficial as these incentives can be, they aren't free of controversies and pitfalls. One common concern is the so-called race to the bottom. When multiple regions begin competing for the same pool of film or game projects, they might try to one-up each other by offering higher and higher rebates. Eventually, there's a risk that a region invests more in incentives than it gains economically, or that it strains public resources better spent on infrastructure, education, or healthcare. Another angle is market distortion. Some critics argue that production decisions might be driven primarily by the size of a tax credit, rather than by authentic artistic vision or audience interest. Could a film set in the Amazon rainforest relocate to an entirely different ecosystem just because a certain U.S. state offers a bigger rebate? Might an aspiring musician change their style or content in order to meet certain criteria for a cultural test? Possibly. Additionally, smaller arts organizations may struggle with the complexity of the application process or the costs of an audit, giving an edge to bigger players. And if a government suddenly ends the incentive program, perhaps due to budget cuts or a change in policy, ongoing projects could be left scrambling. This uncertainty can complicate long-term planning for local creative industries. Yet these drawbacks don't automatically disqualify tax incentives as a powerful tool. Instead, they point to the need for careful design, transparency, and accountability. Some regions require cost-benefit analyses to ensure that for every dollar of incentive, the local economy earns back multiples in jobs, tourism, and other indirect spending. Others impose caps on how much total rebate can be distributed annually, preventing runaway expansions of the program. 7. Embracing the larger economic and cultural benefits. Despite the pitfalls, many governments see indisputable positives. The numbers are often astounding. In certain cases, each dollar spent on incentives yields multiple dollars in local economic benefits, ranging from direct job creation to tourism spending. And it isn't just the money that matters. There are long-term cultural benefits to consider. When a region becomes known for supporting the arts, be it through film, music, gaming, or live performance, creative professionals flock there. Over time, they build up a well-trained workforce, from costume designers to motion capture specialists, from lighting technicians to voiceover artists. Universities respond by developing specialized programs to train future generations of creative professionals. Tech startups pop up offering services tailored for these cultural fields, such as VR stage design or AI-driven editing tools. Essentially, a single well-designed incentive policy can spark a virtuous cycle where cultural production continues to grow organically. That in turn fosters local pride and global reputation. Imagine a city once overlooked, now celebrated for its annual film festival, its thriving game development studios, or its artist-friendly downtown with murals at every corner. The intangible effect on a community, enhanced quality of life, increased cultural capital, stronger community cohesion is often as significant as the monetary gains. 8. What the future holds. As technology advances, new frontiers keep emerging. Virtual production, AI-driven editing, and blockchain-based financing could all reshape what we label as cultural production. Will we see a world where a fully digital art installation qualifies for an incentive? Quite possibly. For instance, a choreographed ballet performed entirely in virtual reality might bring together dancers from 3 different continents, but still yield local economic benefits if the principal production staff is based in a certain city. Or an NFT-based platform might qualify under a cultural test if it highlights regional artistry and folklore. In parallel, environmental and social considerations may become integral to incentives. We might see governments attach sustainability requirements or inclusivity standards for productions, awarding higher rebates to projects that hire local women filmmakers, collaborate with indigenous artists, or use green production practices. Such expansions could further align public values with cultural financing, ensuring that the sector grows more ethically and responsibly. Number 9. The enduring importance of culture and its funding. Ultimately, tax incentives and rebates for culture remind us that art does not exist in a vacuum. Every painting, every film, every theatrical production, every game world is tethered to resources: time, money, people, infrastructure. By easing the financial strain, these incentives can unlock an incredible wellspring of creativity. The biggest shift, perhaps, is a philosophical one, acknowledging culture as essential rather than just a luxury or afterthought. When policymakers see culture as a mainstay of societal development, they're more likely to invest in it, using incentives to encourage local creators and attract global collaborators. And when citizens recognize how such policies elevate their daily experiences, art festivals in the local park, a broader range of theater productions, a livelier indie music scene, they're more apt to support these measures, or even advocate for expansions that include new and emerging art forms. How might the world look if every region had a robust, transparent, and equitable set of incentives to fund culture? We could see a renaissance of small-scale creative ventures, a more diverse array of stories told on film, a richer tapestry of gaming experiences, and public spaces that teem with creative expression. The ripple effects could touch education, mental health, community identity, and international reputations. In short, we'd stand at the crossroads of finance and art, harnessing the best of both worlds. In conclusion, tax incentives and rebates may seem like a purely financial tool, but in practice they serve as one of the most potent catalysts for cultural innovation and growth. They've demonstrated their transformative power in film hubs around the globe, helped build vibrant video game industries, and hold the promise of fostering new life in music, theater, and public art. While not without pitfalls, these mechanisms can be designed to balance economic return with genuine cultural enrichment. By thoughtfully adopting global best practices and remaining open to future technologies and ethical considerations, policymakers can continue to refine these incentives into a blueprint for a richly funded, creatively robust, and socially uplifting cultural sector. In many ways, our cultural endeavors mirror our collective soul. Ensuring they have financial room to flourish is not just an economic exercise. It's a declaration that creativity, heritage, and storytelling are invaluable cornerstones of our communities. And that, ultimately, is the profound message of tax incentives for culture: that art and culture are worth every bit of support we can give, because they are the threads that weave together our shared human experience.